D2 Word Life here with Rip very disappointed the three challengers in the main event lost tides.
Go fuck yourself and go suck Seth Rollins' dick like you normally do.
Nah. And today we are reviewing Clash in Paris that happened last night at time of recording on August 31st, 2025. And the show was hyped coming from Paris, France. It came from another city on the outskirts of Paris, France, which I'm not even going to attempt.
Lyon,
France. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it because I know I'd butcher the hell out of it.
it's Lyon, Paris, France.
Yep, and they were in the Paris La Défense Arena with an attendance of 30,343 fans. And
It'll be Taylor Swift's concert.
Yeah, and the commentators for this event were Michael Cole and Wade Barrett. Obviously, Michael Cole is your boy.
Obviously, you want to see him in his orange singlet.
And wasn't the ring announcer Lisa Taylor? Because I forgot to make a note of that.
You just anointed.
Or was it?
Commentating.
What?
I said, of course you want to see your boy in his orange singlet. When you said, oh, Michael Cole's your boy, I'm like, oh yeah, you also want to see him in his orange singlet. And then you're like, well, not touching that.
No, I said, wasn't Alicia Taylor the ring announcer? I forgot to freaking make a note of that.
She's always the ring announcer.
Yeah, I just assumed she was the ring announcer. I don't remember too much, but yeah, we usually don't pay attention to the ring announcers. All right. And boy, we got a good one for you. The opening after they did the whole like hype package at the start of the show, like they usually do for each of these pay-per-view events, or sorry, premium live events. I'm old school, right? The first match of the night we had was Bronson Reed with Paul Heyman taking on Roman Reigns.
Yes.
It was a tribal chief versus the tribal thief. This all came about after every time Reigns was attacked by Reed and Breaker Reed would steal his shoes, making it the Shula Fala recently.
Yeah, yes. And then Reigns came out with two Olafalas for his uncle and his dad.
Yes. No, I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm not going to go through all these spot for spot, but we're going to name out some of the spots that stood out to us here in this matchup. Like at one point near the beginning of the match, Reigns tried to lift Bronson Reed up on his shoulders, but Reed was just too heavy and Reigns collapsed. Right?
No, he didn't collapse. Bronson Reed just flattened him.
Yep. Followed by Reed hitting a cannonball onto Reigns. Right? After that. And then freaking on the outside, another spot worth mentioning was Reed giving Reigns a Uranagi slam onto the French commentary table. How'd that ever not break? I don't know. And of course, Reigns came back, and a little later on, Reigns cleared out the Michael Cole and Wade Barrett's commentary table, but Reed nailed and then Reed hit a clothesline on the Reigns on the floor, or whatever. And of course, back in the ring, freaking Reed nailed freaking the world's strongest slam. Shout out to Mark Henry for a 2 count on Reigns. Right?
Yes.
Oh, and this match already got its 5-star rating from me because Bronson Reed shortly after stayed control of Reigns by locking in the most devastating submission hold, or wear down hold, a chin lock. Sorry, I had to point that one out.
Yep.
The only thing that would have made me happier is if freaking Bronson Reed slapped on like 5 or 6 more of them throughout the match. And then you'd be like,
No.
and then you would have been like, God damn it. Feels just like that Davey Boy Smith and Ken Shamrock match that we reviewed recently. All right?
No.
And of course, freaking Reigns, of course, broke out of it. Of course, got out of that, but freaking Reed then hit an elbow smash, knocking Reigns down once again. And I guess freaking Reed was paying attention to Wrestling Bios Reliving the War series because he locked in another long ass chin lock on Reigns once again. Ooh, right?
Yeah.
And then at that point, you're like, oh shit, you knew exactly I was going to talk about that. Right?
They had one too many chin locks.
Of course, at this point, Reed was in control for the most part. A little bit later on down the line in the matchup, Reed teased taking Roman Reigns' shoes off, but Reigns was able to kick Reed away from him.
No, he didn't. He tried.
Yeah, he tried, but freaking Reigns kicked him off and got back in control.
He kicked him in the face.
And then Reigns got in control when Reigns got in control when Reed tried to do a splash on the Reigns, but Reigns got out of the way, which led to Reigns freaking hitting multiple clotheslines, which really didn't really do much of anything to Reed at all, but until Reigns hit him with a running clothesline that sent Reed over the top rope. All right?
Yeah.
And of course, back in the ring, Reigns went for his signature Superman punch, but Reigns hit a Uranagi and a Senton Splash for a 2 count. And of course, a little later on, after some exchanges outside the ring shortly after that, Reigns was able to nail another Superman punch, but Reed came back with a kick and a clothesline out of the ring once again. It was like back and forth at this point near the end.
Yep.
And what was impressive is Reed actually hit a suicide dive on the Reigns onto the floor. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. And I was like, how was Reigns not pancaked at that point? But this is Roman Reigns we're talking about, so he didn't stay down from that. And he was able to come back, nail a Samoan drop on the freaking Reed, and eventually hit the spear to win the match with the 3 count, with a pinfall on Reed.
Yeah, but that wasn't the end of the match, was it, buddy?
I know, but before we talk about what happened after the match, which was obviously newsworthy at this point, what was your thoughts on this opening contest from bell to bell?
That was good.
At least our prediction of Roman Reigns winning actually came true.
Yep.
So, yeah, I thought the match was okay. It was a good way to open up, get the crowd hyped. Was it the best match Reigns and Reed had? No, they had better matches, but, this one was okay. It was serviceable. Told the story it needed to tell. That's what I thought. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then after the match, freaking Reigns freaking posed for the fans, celebrating his win, right?
Yep.
And then Paul Heyman came in to check on Bronson Reed, who was still down and out selling the spear right in the end of the match, right? And then Heyman turned around, and then Heyman turned around and came eye to eye with Reigns. And mind you, at this point, Heyman was the one wearing the sneakers around his neck, right?
But we also put up the 1.
Yep. Yeah, then Heyman Heyman trying to suck up to Reigns once again. Said to Reigns like he loved him and that he knows his tribal chief. And then Heyman ended up giving Reigns his sneakers back. So And right when you think, okay, everything between Reigns and Paul Heyman was all freaking fine and dandy, Reigns was like, nah, fam, screw you. And he blocked the guillotine choke onto Heyman. All right.
Sent his fat walrus ass to the hospital.
Which obviously Heyman immediately tapped out to. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then freaking, so Paul Heyman was out.
No, it wasn't immediate. It was within 3 seconds.
So yeah, Paul Heyman was laid out. So Reigns got his shoes back, and then he's celebrating the commentary table by starting to put his autograph on some of the shoes and throw them in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And while he was doing this, Bronson Reed came out and freaking attacked Reigns on by giving him a spear on the commentary table through the commentary table.
You mean Braun Breaker?
Or Braun
Not
Breaker.
Bronson Reed?
Bronson
Reed was still down in the ring?
Or Bronson Reed. Braun Breaker came out. Braun and Braun. The only one missing from this freaking goddamn story, from this goddamn group, is freaking Braun Strowman. Then I'd be like,
Was it Braun, and Braun?
But yeah, Braun Breaker came out and gave freaking Reigns a spear to the commentary table. Yeah, and then back in the ring, Breaker and freaking Reed checked on Heyman. And then freaking they went and attacked freaking Reigns some more. After Reigns was in the aisleway, getting escorted by officials. It's like, yeah, and then Braun Breaker ran down again and speared Reigns again. All right. Yeah, and then freaking Bronson Reed was trash talking Reigns on the outside, which led to Reed tossing Reigns back in the ring, and Braun freaking held Reigns' legs down, so Reed went up and hit the tsunami onto Reigns from the top rope.
Yeah. Not once, but a bunch of times.
And then next thing we know, we see the officials get in there, trying to check on Reigns, trying to get the two Brauns out of the ring at this point. And then Reigns was strapped to a backboard, so Reed decided, screw it, I'm going to go up to the top rope and hit another tsunami on the Reigns again.
Yes.
This time when he's freaking strapped to a backboard, can't even defend himself.
It doesn't. Didn't this give you back flashbacks to Rey Mysterio?
Yes. We still need to review that event where Big Show decided to use Rey Mysterio as a baseball bat. And of course, at this point, the officials and security were around the ringside area. Then Jey Uso came out to help Reigns out. And then Jey super kicked Reed and Braun out
Got
of the ring.
speared.
Yeah, at first Jey super kicked Reed and Braun out of the ring. But as soon as Jey was checking on Reigns on the backboard, Braun went back into the ring and nailed Jey with a spear as well. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and there was more security came out to the ring, and then Raw GM Adam Pearce tried to get Braun and Reed out of there once again. Didn't work, and then Bronson Reed went up to the top rope again and hit another tsunami on Reigns. Obviously, this was put in place to write Reigns off to go film Street Fighter. Anyway, right?
Yes.
Just so you know. Eventually, Reigns was taken away on a stretcher while Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker went to the back. And then freaking Jey Uso was selling his ribs from that dang spear, so obviously he's not 100% going into the main event. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then we go. Yeah, and then after all that, we seen ads and commercials promoting WrestlePalooza on September 20th as the first ever WWE pay-per-view to take place on freaking
ESPN.
And of course on Netflix everywhere else.
Yes.
So yeah, in other words, this Clash in Paris was the final pay-per-view to take place on Peacock. Right?
Remember, guys, you could use Stephanie McMahon's code for Surfshark.
Oh,
Her
TKO.
code is Stephanie.
Oh,
Or Steph.
yeah, and TKO hated that ad. Yeah, from what I heard.
That doesn't matter. She's had a partnership with Surfshark way before that.
Oh, I know. So yeah, the post-match angle, though I think it was overkill, I understand why. They were trying to write Roman Reigns off of TV, like they usually would anyway. So because he is a part-timer, but he is going to film. Friggin' Street Fighter, the new Street Fighter movie. That's why Cody Rhodes has been gone too for the past month.
Well, he also had another daughter, so
that as well, right?
yes.
And of course, we go backstage where we see Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed getting yelled at by Adam Pearce. And Adam
Oh,
Pearce.
you think you see Adam Pearce mad on Raw? He was fucking pissed.
So, yep. Yeah, and then Pearce freaking mentioned that Reigns is going to the hospital. Yeah, and then freaking Pearce, and then I guess Heyman also was going to the hospital, supposedly. And
yes.
Then, and in the middle of this freaking scrap, in the middle of this yelling match, Adam Pearce pretty much banned Breaker and Reed from the building. Saying if
he told them that they had to leave. They were banned from the arena. If they showed up at the arena or came out at the arena again, then they would be suspended indefinitely without pay. And because they're like, oh no, Seth Rollins' match is coming up and we're gonna be there. He's like, no, you ain't.
So pretty much the vision got freaking neutralized.
Yes.
And it was at this point during that announcement, y'all were messaging in the group chat saying, ha, your boy doesn't have any backup.
I wasn't messaging shit.
Well, freaking our friend was. So yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you guys have a good night and Gabe Petty.
And I'm just like, okay. And then we go on to the next match of the night, which was for the WWE Tag Team titles. It was a Wyatt 6, which is represented by Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, with Uncle Howdy, Eric Rowan, and Nikki Cross in their corner defending the titles against the Street Profits. Angelo Dawkins.
That were dressed up as video game characters for
Borderlands
4.
Yeah, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford with B-Fab in their corner. So, yeah. And I know during our predictions at the end of the last review video we did not mention this tag team match because it wasn't official yet. This match literally just became official like on SmackDown last Friday when the Profits won a number one contenders match against Carmelo Hayes and The Miz to get this shot anyway. Right?
Mellow Miz. Mizzello, yes.
So it's like, Yeah, and then Bo Dallas was playing mind games with Ford and Dawkins on the SmackDown prior, right?
Yes.
Pretty much asking if Dawkins and Ford are really on the same page. Because I'm just like, we got another story where the Profits could possibly break up. How many times have they've been doing that over the years, but yet they're still around? Right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, some of the highlights here that I remember from this matchup is that one of them, Ford, was sent off the ring apron to the commentary table, and Ford was isolated by the Wyatt 6, also back and forth.
Yeah.
Heelish tag team wrestling, we've seen it all before. Where the
Street Profits had no advantage. They got They were getting decimated from the start.
Of course, Ford broke free, and Dawkins came in and hit a somersault dive on both of the opponents. Right?
Yep.
On both Gacy and Loomis. Right? Yeah, and then Dawkins Dawkins was in control over Gacy with a couple clotheslines and a corkscrew elbow, followed by a splash and an enziguri kick on the Gacy as well. Oh yeah, and Dawkins freaking goddamn did a shout out to Jeff Hardy by nailing a Swanton bomb off the top rope for a 2 count. Right?
Yes.
And ironically, August 31st was Jeff Hardy's birthday, so I guess that makes sense. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then and then a little bit afterwards, Dawkins made the tag in, but it's like Dawkins made the tag, put Gacy onto his shoulders, and Ford hit a top rope blockbuster for a 2 count, because Loomis made the save, broke up the pin. Right?
Yep.
And then Gacy ended up nailing the most devastating move in all sports entertainment on Dawkins, the surprise roll up for a 2 count. I'm surprised Dawkins kicked out. Usually that wins a match. Am I right?
Yeah.
But near the end, freaking Gacy rolled out of the ring, so Dawkins nailed him with a pounce that sent Gacy into the turnbuckle. Huh. Where have I seen that before recently watching old TNA shows? That same maneuver.
Yeah.
If you know who I'm talking about, then you're an OG. Right?
Yep.
And then Dawkins then faced off with Rollins, so Loomis went over there and sent Dawkins over the barricade. Right?
Yep.
And of course, Rowan got involved. He didn't really get involved, but he just stood there. Right?
No, the freaking Dawkins took out Gacy, and then Rowan went up to freaking to distract him. It was like, oh, what? You want some of this, big man?
But then that's when Ford came out with a somersault dive over the ring post onto Loomis and Rowan on the outside. Right?
Yes.
Taking them out, but then Nikki Cross then freaking grabbed Ford's leg while she was under the ring. Right? Which allowed freaking Uncle Howdy to come out and hit his sister Abigail onto Ford on the outside while the referee was distracted. Which allowed Loomis and Gacy to hit the plagues, or their suplex into a powerbomb finisher onto Ford to get the pinfall win.
Yeah, their signature move, the plague.
Yeah. So the winners of the match, Gacy and Loomis retaining the tag team championships. Your thoughts on this one?
It's a powerbomb neck breaker is what it is.
Yep. So yeah, your thoughts on the White Six retaining the titles here, even though they kind of retained them by heelish tactics.
That's because they're a heel team?
Yeah, and I don't give a crap. We're still fans of them, but your thoughts on this one?
It was good. Was it their best match? Maybe. Are they going to have better matches? Most likely.
Well, when it comes to the White Six matches, the best match I've seen so far from them was the TLC match from last month's from SummerSlam at the beginning of August. Right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't care. You know what's funny? I don't care. WWE books freaking White Six as a heel group, but despite that, the fans still cheer the group anyway. Right? Because we all know, and we all know the reason why. Right?
Yep.
So, did I think it was a good match? Yeah, it was a good match. Did they have better matches? Did all of them have better matches before? Yeah, but then again, it wasn't, terrible. In my opinion, it wasn't shit. It was a typical just was your typical regular tag match. That's what I felt. I mean, we could have seen it on SmackDown, and I would have felt the same way. To be honest, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, we get treated to the video package for the next match. That was the Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella video package, hyping up the next matchup here between the two for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And you all know the story to this one. At least we know the story to this one. It all started with that promo between the two, especially when Lynch said that, oh yeah, her and her husband are the power couple of WWE right now. But then she said to Nikki, well, and that would have been you, and oh, sorry, you can't see him anymore. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That was the burn of the century right there. Right? And then that resulted in Nikki Bella challenging Becky Lynch for the title, which Becky Lynch reluctantly agreed to here at Clash in Paris. Right? After being called out. Right? Okay. Now, before we go into anything, I just got to mention this. We seen a botch from Nikki. I think she was going for some kind of spin kick on the Becky Lynch, but from the turnbuckle, but Becky Lynch wasn't anywhere near
her. Yeah.
And then the meme's been coming in ever since saying, oh, Nikki kicked her ex John Cena. We just couldn't see him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've been seeing those damn memes all day. I'm like, God, Jesus. Right? But yeah, shortly after the match started, Lynch did send Nikki into the steel steps on the outside. And then back in the ring, Lynch nailed a leg drop from the metal ropes for a 2 count. Right? And Lynch was in control, even though the Beck exploder suplex, but Nikki came back with some punches trying to get some momentum back, but Lynch shut that down with a clothesline for a 2 count. Right?
Yep.
And is it just me, or did you also notice the fans were cheering for Lynch, who was the heel, and booing Nikki, who was the face? I swear I heard that in this one. Yeah, and at one point Lynch freaking charged in running at Nikki, who avoided it, and Lynch nailed the turnbuckle, which gave Nikki an opening here. 2 clotheslines and a drop kick, and so Nikki was in control, and Nikki then ended up dropping Becky Lynch up the floor. And Nikki also then sent Lynch into the commentary tables afterwards. Right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, wasn't it right here that Nikki went for the jumping kick right here after that, but Lynch moved and Nikki hit nothing but mat. But
she whiffed.
Yeah, but from the angle it looked like Lynch didn't even move anywhere. It looked like she stood in place.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, because from the angle that was shot at, that looked weird. Looked like a botch more than anything. Right?
Yeah.
I was mentioning earlier. Right? So yeah, and then all of a sudden Lynch and Nikki Lynch and Bella were freaking like going back and forth, trying to talk it out, I guess, by doing some punches back and forth, because they obviously knew they messed that spot up. Right?
Yeah.
As you could tell here. which Lynch freaking nailed a reverse DDT on the Nikki. And you know what? It was just, your basic average back and forth throughout this point here. At one point, Nikki hit an electric chair drop on Lynch, but Lynch then freaking came back with a snap spine buster for a 2 count. Right?
Yeah, but they were also going for Nikki would kept trying to go for the Rack Attack 2.0, and Becky kept trying to go for the manhandle, and they were doing submission after submission.
Yeah, and doing that. Eventually, Nikki applied the Fearless Lock submission hold, which
is a modified STFU.
Yes, but obviously Lynch didn't tap out. She actually grabbed the rope to have the submission hold broken. Yeah, and Lynch then sent Nikki into the steel steps back on the outside when both of them got out of the ring. And then Nikki sent Lynch headfirst into the ring post. Back in the ring, or not back in the ring, Nikki then hit the belly buster onto the steel steps. But like you said, back in the ring, Nikki went for the Rack Attack 2.0, but Lynch avoided that, so Nikki nailed a manhandle slam on a Lynch for 2 count. How you gonna freaking... Lynch ain't gonna lose her own finishing maneuver, I can tell you that right now. Right?
The Rock lost to his own finishing maneuver.
Yeah, then Nikki tried to apply a freaking disarmor on the freaking dang Lynch, which, let's face it, that looked crap. Right? But Lynch countered it by sending Nikki to the turnbuckle, and Lynch then freaking then Lynch applied the freaking backslide pin to get the 3 count and put everyone out of
misery. Or as Wade Barrett calls it, the Lynch pin.
Lynch pin. It was just a backslide pin.
Or as Wade Barrett now calls it, the Lynch pin.
Yeah. And with that, it sent everyone out of their misery, and us too. Right? So yeah, Becky Lynch wins, retains the championship. Your thoughts on this one from bell to bell?
It was a good match. Disappointed at the ending, but good all the same.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no problems with Becky Lynch retaining the women's Intercontinental Championship here. As a matter of fact, that was our prediction. But
I said Nikki.
Well, Lynch. I said Lynch. Right. But I just felt like the ending could have at least ended with a manhandle slam or something like that instead of just a backslide pin. After all that, after what we saw throughout, that's just my only nitpick at it. But either way, it's like, It's like, either way, I think the right person won, and trust me, with the story they're telling, it's probably a good thing Lynch retained the title here. And trust me, this ain't gonna be the last time we talk about Becky Lynch on this review. Spoilers. So yeah, it was alright, but it wasn't the best match either. Right? So yeah. Backstage we see Jey Uso was icing down his ribs, and obviously getting his ribs taped, right?
Yep.
Adam Pearce came in, asked Jey if he was ready for the night, but Jey said that he was able to compete, and Jey told Pearce that Roman Reigns told him to win the world title. And Jey said he's going to bring home the World Heavyweight Championship. Now,
yep.
And we'll see if that happens or not. So now we go to arguably, I believe, our personal favorite match of the night. All right. And that was that good old-fashioned Donnybrook match between Sheamus and Rusev. And to be honest here, I know we both predicted freaking Sheamus to win, but either way, I didn't really care who would have won this. I just wanted to see a good old-fashioned big men slapping man meat. That's what it was, right?
Yeah, but Big E was also saying during the pre-show, saying, "Oh, he's gonna be in the back with a big, cause he's gonna be slobbering over all that big man meat, slapping man meat."
Yeah, and I know people can take that wrong, but basically a Donnybrook match is basically an anything goes, no disqualification encounter where the match can end by pinfall or submission, I believe, in ring, but it was pretty much, but the weapons were used were pretty much weapons you'd see in an Irish setting or something. That's what it was. All right. I mean, we've seen these type of
Yeah.
matches before. All right. And then right after Sheamus and Rusev made their entrances here, they didn't waste any time. They just went back and forth at each other with strikes, like their war from Raw continues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually they went out to the outside where Rusev sent Sheamus into the barricade, and of course Sheamus fought back, and then Sheamus ended up grabbing a table to freaking put up on the floor. And then Sheamus then countered Rusev with a suplex onto the floor. Dang. This early on, right?
Yep.
And then Sheamus then sent Rusev into the barricade a couple times. Yep, Sheamus didn't give a crap in this matchup. Right? And then Sheamus got the shillelagh, but freaking Rusev nailed Sheamus with the kendo stick shots several times. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then freaking Rusev then beat Sheamus with a kendo stick several times, like I said, and then he set Sheamus up against the turnbuckle and nailed Sheamus with forearms to the chest. Right? Anyway, moving on. A little bit later in the matchup, Sheamus freaking worked over Rusev with kendo stick shots too. So, pretty much Rusev getting his receipts, right? For it.
Yep.
And what you do to me, I'll do back to you, right? Then Sheamus brought 3 chairs in the ring, but Rusev ran the ropes and nailed a freaking jumping heel kick to Sheamus. For a 1 count, Sheamus kicking out at 1. That's one thing you kick out at 2, but 1, that's proving a message to your opponent, right? So Rusev freaking wore down Sheamus with chair shots all over his body, chair shot after chair shot, right?
Yep.
And it was at this point freaking Rusev wedged the chair into the turnbuckle, but then Rusev then kicked freaking Sheamus a few times, but Sheamus yelled, "Come on!" And Rusev tried a chair shot, but Sheamus blocked it. And then Sheamus then hit a jumping knee on a freaking Rusev's jaw for a 2 count, right?
Yeah.
And then Sheamus then performed the 10 beats of the Byron onto Rusev against the ropes, right?
Well, Rusev hit the 10 beats of the Baldwin on Sheamus first.
Yep. And the fans were into this one. They were freaking... At this point, they were just beating the hell out of each other, right?
Yeah, and then he literally did white noise off fucking whiskey barrels into tables.
Yeah, that was near the end of the matchup. We'll get there when we get there. Yeah, and then freaking on the outside, freaking Sheamus used the shillelagh and nailed Rusev in the chest repeatedly, right?
Yep.
Back in the ring, Sheamus went for a white noise, but Rusev avoided that. And then Sheamus then sent Rusev into the chair that was in the turnbuckle. So yeah, your plan backfired there, Rusev, right?
Yep.
And then Sheamus then gave Rusev a Celtic cross for a 2 count. This match could have gone either way, right?
Yep.
And of course, a little bit later after that, Sheamus and Rusev were fighting each other on the outside of the ring, which saw freaking Rusev give Sheamus a Uranagi slam to the bar they had set up out there, right?
Yep.
And I'm just like, damn, right? And of course,
You're like,
Rusev,
how the fuck isn't he dead?
yes. And once back in the ring, Rusev was in control. He kicked Sheamus and applied the accolade, but Sheamus managed to get to his feet, and then Sheamus nailed a backpack slam onto the chair that was in the ring, breaking the hold. Right? At this point, the fans were doing that "This is awesome" chant, and I kind of had to agree with them because I'm like, this is too damn close. I don't give a crap who wins. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, back on the outside, Sheamus and Rusev ended up fighting each other on top of like whiskey barrels that were freaking propped up there, which saw Rusev apply the accolade submission on the barrels. But Sheamus got out of that, picked Rusev out of his back, and nailed White Noise onto the off the barrels through two tables that were stacked, set up there on the floor, like you were saying.
Yep.
And it was shortly after that I remember Sheamus freaking. At this point, both were beaten up badly. Sheamus ended up putting Rusev back into the ring. And then Sheamus self got in, nailed the broad kick on the Rusev for a 2 count. I'm surprised I got a 2. Right?
Yep.
But then Rusev got back in control. Freaking got Sheamus down with shillelagh shots, including one shillelagh shot that broke over Sheamus's back. Right?
Yeah.
And at that point, Rusev was like, you know what? I'm going to end it. So Sheamus applied the freaking accolade, this time holding the broken shillelagh in freaking Sheamus's mouth, and cranking that son of a bitch all the way back to the point where it looked like Sheamus was folded up backwards. Right?
Yeah.
And despite his best effort, Sheamus had no choice but to tap out, giving Rusev the win. Right? So yeah, your thoughts on this one?
Good match. My prediction was wrong, but
with the way those
it
two
was
were
a
going,
fucking hell of a brawl.
yeah, with the way those two were going back and forth and fucking their bodies up like that for our entertainment, I didn't care who won. Even if Sheamus lost what you did, I didn't care. I'm like, because I was just glued on every minute of this train wreck, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, I think it was one of the best matches of the night, right? Could this mean that their feud rivalry is finally over? I would say so. I bet
No.
I bet their bodies were feeling it earlier this morning at time of recording, right? It's like, oh yeah. So yeah.
I highly doubt it's the end of their rivalry.
I'd be down enough to see him in another type of no disqualification fight again. Especially after this performance, am I right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's a match I'd probably more than likely go back and watch again. So yeah, it was a good match. So yeah, after that, we see the video package for the next matchup, and well, the next match we're about to talk about is the Invisible Man taking on the Dickhead, aka John Cena versus your boy Logan Paul.
Fuck you.
And of course, Logan Paul wanted to challenge John Cena to this matchup. And so yeah, Logan Paul wanted to prove himself against Cena. he challenged Cena this matchup after Cena pretty much made an open challenge here. And then these two have been going back and forth on the mic ever since, including last week on SmackDown. All right. When freaking pretty much Cena called Logan Paul a dickhead, and everyone was applauding and cheering that. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, both men made their entrances. Logan Paul came out first. Obviously got booed from the building by everybody. And of course, Cena came out. He got a standing ovation. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the match started and Paul was in freaking control early on. I don't like giving props to him at all, but I kind of have to here. He was in control of Cena, but Cena then came back with a 10 punch combo in the corner, right? Followed by a monkey flip, but Paul landed his feet, and then Paul hit a boot to the head, not to knock Cena down, right?
Yep.
And at this point, you're already chugging your primes like they were water.
I know you were.
Yeah, and then Paul hit an uppercut to knock Cena down, but then Cena avoided another one, leading to a clothesline onto Paul, right?
Yep.
And of course, Paul came back with a kick and a freaking blockbuster for a 2 count on Cena, because you know Cena ain't gonna lose that quickly, right?
Yep.
And I really hate to say, but a little bit later on, Paul did the most disgraceful thing he could possibly do to John Cena, applying the most devastating rest hold of them all, a chin lock. Why do I have to talk about a Logan Paul chin lock? Right?
Because you are dumb and you like them.
I'm like, I don't give a shit. Logan Paul will never, ever be a chin lock master. Right?
Yep.
Of course, freaking Paul then nailed a gut wrench suplex for a 2 count. Right? On Cena.
Yeah.
Then Paul then nailed another running uppercut, which Cena then launched at Paul with a running clothesline, so both guys were down at this point. A little bit later on, Cena did go for his 5-knuckle shuffle on Paul, and he actually nailed it. And then Cena went to lift Paul up on his shoulders, but Paul went for the apron, and Paul then hit his version of a blockbuster lariat for a 2 count on Cena. Right?
Yep.
And then freaking Paul then Paul took freaking 11 years to get up on the freaking dang top rope to go for a frog splash. But Cena got his knees up, so Cena got his knees up, and then Cena nailed the attitude adjustment or the FU for a 2 count. Right?
Yep.
I'm just like, damn. And of course, Paul freaking fought back, got back into it, and nailed a octopus submission hold on the Cena. Which you know Cena ain't never going to tap out at this point. Let's be real here, right?
Yeah.
So Cena got out of it, and Paul did then Paul then hit a sunset flip on a Cena for 2 count. Right?
Yep.
A little bit later on, Cena got up to the turnbuckle and jumped off the turnbuckle and nailed a tornado DDT on Paul for a 2 count. Cena went for the FU again, but Paul countered. Paul countered it, and then Paul then nailed a reverse powerbomb on Cena for 2 count. So many 2 counts here. And at this point, I'm just like, I was anticipating the finish because I'm just like, I don't want to see Logan Paul win. But I got to admit, this match was actually good at this point. Because it was kind of hard to tell who was going to win at this point. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually freaking Cena ran the ropes and nailed 2 shoulder tackles, but freaking Paul countered whatever move that Cena had planned, and Paul ended up nailing the zigzag for another 2 count. And somewhere Nick Nemeth was like, what the hell? He's stealing my moves now? Right?
Yes.
And then Paul went for the buckshot Laird again, but Cena freaking countered it with a spinning slam on the ball, knocking him down. Right?
Yep.
Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead here. I don't want to be too long on this freaking matchup here, but it's just too good not to mention some of these spots. Right?
Well, he also punched him in the face with his fist, his titanium fist.
Yes. At one point, Paul got busted open. I think he got a bloody nose at this point after some more exchanging strikes and big moves against each other. Right?
Yeah.
And then Paul then nailed 2 shoulder blocks and a spinning sidewalk slam. You know, John Cena's moves, right?
Yes.
And the fans hated it badly. Paul got a freaking dang standing ovation here. As freaking Paul went for the 5-knuckle shuffle, but Cena got back up, and then Cena hit an FU again for a 2 count. Right?
Yes.
And of course, at this point, freaking Paul was exhausted. Cena was exhausted. They exchanged strikes of their own against each other. Neither one really getting the advantage from that, right?
Yeah.
But then Paul then caught Cena after a couple headbutts. Paul then caught Cena, and Paul caught Cena, but Cena hit a Hurricane Rana on a Paul, and Cena hit a Code Red for a 2 count. It's like back and forth we go. But then Paul freaking came back and nailed the freaking right hand knockout punch to the jaw for a 2 count. I'm like, if Paul was using the brass knuckles, maybe he could have gotten the 3 there. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm dragging on way too long talking about this match. There was so many good spots in this match, I couldn't just, go through within 30 seconds. I'm sorry. Right?
Cena fucking did the FU on him and got the 3 count.
It's like, yeah, but before that, freaking Paul went for the frog splash off the top rope. And he got a 2 count. Right?
Yep.
And then Paul went for the 5-knuckle shuffle, and this time he actually nailed it. And then Paul went for
it's not called the frog splash, but it's called the Paul from Grace.
Or the Paul from Grace. I still call it the frog splash. Fuck that. Fuck the Paul from Grace. I'd rather call it the frog splash. Alright? But then Paul went for the FU again, but then Cena rolled through and Cena hit the Styles Clash for a 2 count. Right? And I'm like, jeez. Maybe that's a little tease of the next rivalry that CM Punk, or not CM Punk, Cena will have before he retires. Right?
Yep.
Fans were freaking going absolutely nuts. But in the end, Logan Paul went for another move, leaping in the air, but freaking Cena caught Paul, rolled through, and Cena nailed the FU. They went for another move, but freaking Paul went for the punch to the jaw, but Cena ducked out of that, and then Cena then performed another FU for the win. Pinfall win in 3 count. So John Cena wins this match over Logan Paul like we predicted. Your thoughts on this one?
It was good. It's sad that he only has 8 more appearances left, though.
Yeah. Honestly, I really hate to say this, but I gotta judge these matches fairly, though. And I gotta give the devil his due here. That was actually one of Logan Paul's best matches, I'm not gonna lie. Even though I don't like the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it hurts me to say that, but yeah, I don't like the guy, But I gotta judge it fairly. That match was actually good, right?
No, guys, don't get him wrong. He loves all Logan Paul matches. He loves to drink Logan Paul's prime. He loves to have cases upon cases upon cases.
No. Don't get it twisted now. That's you.
No, don't get that twisted. That is you, buddy.
No, that's you. We all know you're the freaking prime Logan Paul fanboy.
No.
I mean, you were devastated when Cena won.
No, I was not.
But yeah, after the match, Cena celebrated. The fans were going nuts for him, like usual. And then Cena freaking went up to the freaking fan who he insulted from that Raw in Belgium at ringside, hugged him, and then freaking gave a kiss to his wife at ringside. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that goes back full circle. Remember that heel promo? When Cena insulted everyone, including the kid in the audience? Yeah. They went full circle with that one. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then afterwards, after the match, before the main event, they had to do their advertising of what was going to happen on Raw, which we saw earlier today, at time of recording. They were all like, "Oh yeah, on Raw, Dominic Mysterio defends the Intercontinental Championship against AJ Styles." Spoiler alert: Dominic Mysterio retained the title there by cheating, thanks to Anthony's boy El Grande Americano 2. So that's all you really need to know, right? About that.
Yeah.
And then that's when they announced the attendance of 30,343 people. So yeah. And then we go backstage where Seth Rollins was being interviewed moments before his World Heavyweight Championship 4-way match. Rollins claimed that he was already 2 steps ahead, despite his 2 cronies being banned from the arena. And he said he was out there all alone, and then he reminded us that he won the main event of WrestleMania. Not Reigns or CM Punk, but he neglected to mention it was basically Paul Heyman who took out the other 2 for him. Right?
Yes.
So, yeah. But anyway, we go to see the video hype package for this. All right. So here we go. Jey Uso made his entrance first to the crowd. He was all bandaged up due to that spear from Braun Baker earlier in the show.
Braun Baker. It was Braun Breaker, not Baker.
Braun Baker, what does he do? Well, instead of spears, he uses spatulas to bake cakes.
He doesn't do Steiner math.
Yeah, and apparently the only English I know is freaking god dang Sid English. I just called him Braun Baker for fuck's sake. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, with my knowledge in Sid English and Steiner math, how the hell did I graduate high school? I don't even know. Right? Then CM Punk came out. LA Knight came out. Got a big ovation. CM Punk came out. He got the biggest, loudest pop of this match when it came to the entrances. I mean, hell, even the fans were still singing his freaking entrance theme even when his entrance was done. Right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we hear, burn it down. Oh, shit. Rollins then made his entrance as world champion. And here we go. Fatal 4-way match, no disqualifications, no countouts. First person to get the pinfall or the submission wins. So yes, no disqualifications and no countouts, which means anyone can interfere too in this match, and it's legal. I just got to rub that salt in the wound at this point. Right?
Yep.
And you know what? At first, all 3 of them started attacking Rollins at once. Right?
Yes.
And I bet you're really happy about that. You're like, bet you're thinking, I wonder what D2's thinking about watching this right now. Right?
Exactly.
It started with Jay chasing Rollins out of the ring, but then Punk then nailed Jay with a clothesline to stop his suicide dive attempt. But at one point Rollins got back in the ring, and that's when all of them were like, you know what, screw it, let's go after him. Right?
Yep.
And of course, they all eventually started going after each other, including Jay hitting a Samoan drop on Knight, and then Rollins nailed a neck snap to Jay across the top rope. And then Rollins freaking hit a running knee attack on freaking Knight. The same maneuver that Jey Uso uses, right?
Yes.
And then Rollins shouted he needed nobody, but then that's when Punk, Knight, and Uso surrounded Rollins, and Rollins was like thinking, and then Rollins had that look on his face like it was at this moment he knew he fucked up, right?
No, it was at this moment he knew he done fucked up.
Which all that led to freaking punches and kicks from Punk, Knight, and Jay onto Rollins, the 4-on-1 attack. And Jay suggested all of them work together to take out Rollins. I'm like, shit. And I bet it was at that time you were overjoyed to hear that, right?
Yes.
So yeah, all of them working on Rollins by nailing him, by each hitting Rollins with a knee smashes, while Jay nailed a hip attack, and Knight told the other guys put Seth's ass through a table, right?
Yes.
So Punk freaking looked at Jay, freaking pushed Jay, and was yelled out, "Jay, get the tables!" Little nod to the Dudley boys there, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Punk, Knight, and freaking Uso went to the outside, and I think it was either Knight or Punk had freaking drug Rollins out there with them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Punk, Uso, and Knight freaking set up the table, but before they could even do any damage to Rollins, you know what you wanted to see done? Freaking Jey Uso decided to super kick freaking LA Knight in the head on the outside, right?
Yep.
Actually no, he turned on Punk. Punk was the one who got super kicked in the head, right?
Yeah.
And then Knight super kicked freaking Rollins over the barricade. So yeah, all four wrestlers were fighting in the crowd for a couple moments here. And then you were like, God damn it, you wanted to see freaking Rollins get drilled to the table with a shield powerbomb. I knew that would have been justice, wouldn't it? Right? I bet you were hoping, right?
Yeah.
A little later on, Jay kicked Punk and hit a step up enziguri on Punk. Then Jay nailed a freaking hip attack on Rollins and Punk too, yeah, at the same time. And then Knight hit a slam off the shoulders of Jay, and then Punk hit the knee on Jay. It was like fast-paced action at this point. Rollins nailed a pedigree on the Punk, and all four of them were down. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, then Rollins gave Knight a buckle bomb into the turnbuckle. And then Rollins went up to the top and nailed a frog splash on Jay for a 2 count. Right?
Yep.
And of course, Rollins will get near falls on all of them after big moves on each of them. Rollins stomped on Knight while he was against the turnbuckle. Of course, Knight came back with punches, and the fans are chanting, "Yeah!" Right?
Yeah.
And then a little later on, freaking Jay sent Knight to the turnbuckle and hit a neck breaker. And the Knight came back, kept the momentum up, nailing a power slam on the freaking Punk. And Knight also freaking hit a DDT on the Rollins, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then freaking Knight went up the top rope and nailed a freaking elbow drop onto Rollins from the top rope. But then Jay came back, super kicked Knight. It was freaking chaotic at this point, right? You didn't know he was going to win. Yeah, then freaking Punk stopped at Knight Superplex onto Jay, I think. So Punk did a Powerbomb Tower Doom spot on the Knight and Jay. So afterwards, Punk got multiple 2 counts, right?
Yes.
You can tell exactly he was going to win this one, right? Then then a little bit later on, Knight sent Jay into the commentary table. All right, didn't break, I don't think. Yeah, then freaking Knight then placed Rollins on top of the French commentary table. Freaking Knight went to the middle turnbuckle, teasing to jump off, but for some reason, Jay thought it was a good idea at this point to get on the apron to stop Knight from what he was doing. But Knight kicked him off, and then Knight went to the top rope, jumped off with an attempt to nail Rollins with an elbow drop to the table, but Rollins moved out of the way, causing Knight to go crash into the French commentary table himself. Right?
Yes.
And at that point, I believe freaking LA Knight was taken out. Right?
Well, LA Knight was taken out a little bit, and Rollins decides, oh, I'm going to curb stomp Jay. Then I'm going to curb stomp LA Knight. Now I'm going after CM Punk.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, but then freaking before that, I believe Jay was in the ring with Rollins. Jay went charging for a spear, but Rollins countered it with a pedigree for a 2 count. That you gotta admit, even that looked impressive, right?
Yep.
And then Rollins went up to the top rope and nailed a Phoenix Splash, but then Jay moved and Rollins landed on his feet, right?
Yep.
And Jay hit 2 super kicks and a spear, and then Jay freaking jumped off the top and nailed the Uso Splash. Jay went for the cover, but Punk freaking jumped off the top and nailed an elbow drop onto Jay, breaking up the pinfall, right?
Yes.
And Punk nailed a GTS on Jay, and then Punk went for the cover, but Rollins freaking hit Punk with a stomp, thus preventing the pinfall from taking place. Then Rollins covered Punk for a 2 count, right? And I believe this is where the ending comes in, right?
Yeah.
Rollins stated to Punk that he hated Punk and his stupid family. A hence there if what's going on is true, rumored to be true. And then Rollins said he wanted Punk to go away. So Rollins saw Jay on the floor, so Rollins nailed Jay with a curve stomp onto the floor. Rollins nailed the stomp on Knight to the broken commentary table as well to make sure they were down and out for good. Right?
Yeah.
Then Punk grabbed a steel chair, got back into the ring with it. And then freaking Rollins placed Punk's head in the steel chair itself. And then right when Rollins was going to go for the stomp on the chair, onto the chair, friggin' Punk moved out of the way, and then Rollins stomped nothing but chair. Right?
Yes.
And then Punk then nailed a GTS onto Rollins, who bounced off the ropes. And then freaking landed back on top of Punk's shoulders. Pretty much, the same thing of what happened to Punk on the Raw debut on Netflix back in January. Right?
Yes.
So Punk got back up with Rollins on his shoulders, and he yelled out, "Go to sleep!" And right when he was about to freaking nail Rollins again with it, somebody dressed in a ninja outfit got into the ring and nailed Punk with a low blow. So somebody was a dick to Punk's straight edges, I guess. Right?
Yes.
And right when freaking Punk went down, the ninja attacker took off the mask to reveal himself as Becky Lynch, Rollins' wife, right?
Yes.
And right after this freaking reveal, Rollins nailed the stomp on the Punk into a steel chair. And then Rollins covered Punk to get the 3 count and retain the World Heavyweight Championship like I said he would. Your thoughts on this one from bell to bell and that shocking revolution at the end?
It was good. Wrong person won. Fucking Becky Lynch showed that Rollins is a little bitch and can't win a fight by himself.
Yep. Babe, but I knew Rollins was going to retain. You should never doubt me. How many times have I got to prove myself right and you wrong every time? Just because you don't want the heel to win. But anyway, regardless of the outcome, yeah, it was all legal. Interference in that 4-way match are all legal, so it's not cheating. But either way, I thought this match was good despite the interference at the end. And that just means, what's this prove? There's rapid rumors going around that because of this whole situation now, Punk and Rollins are still feuding with each other, obviously. This time it involves the newest member of the Vision, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins' real-life wife. So now there's speculation that this could lead to the return of a certain female performer who we haven't seen in a decade. Right?
Yes.
And yes, I'm pretty sure you read the rumors, but there's rumors going around that CM Punk's wife, AJ Lee, might actually return to be a part of this feud.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I guess that would be a nice consolation for Rollins actually retaining here. I mean, I'm all down to see another freaking one-on-one, probably no holds barred or another contest with no DQs between Rollins and Punk at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought this was a good match. I thought it was a good way to end this, and and then we have another storyline to progress to in the main event scene on Raw here. So yeah, I thought it was a good match. If you haven't seen this 4-way, I'd recommend watching it. So now we go to what I always call our favorite part of the review, and that's our rating system here. Roman Reigns defeating Bronson Reed. I gave that one 3 3/4 out of 5.
I give it a 4.
Yep. The Wyatt Six defeating the Street Profits to retain the WWE Tag Team Championships. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5.
4.
Becky Lynch defeating Nikki Bella to retain the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I only gave that one 3.25 out of 5.
Three.
Fair. Rusev defeating Sheamus in that Donnybrook match. A solid, respectful 4 3/4 out of 5.
5.
John Cena defeating Logan Paul. As much
5.
as I was about to say, as much as it hurts me to give a Logan Paul match this score, I have to give it 5 out of 5. Right? And of course, the main event, Seth Rollins defeating LA Knight, CM Punk, and Jey Uso in that fatal 4-way match to retain the World Heavyweight title. I gave that one 5 out of 5. So what's your final?
I give it a 4.5.
So yeah, my final grade for WWE Clash in Paris 2025 is a solid B grade.
I say A.
Hmm. All right. Anyway, that's our review and thoughts about WWE's Clash in Paris show. Now, balls in your court. What classic pay-per-view are you going to have us review by the end of the week?
Here, 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 here. We're going to be watching a show that you dread.
What?
We're going to be watching The Testicle versus the Genetic Freak. I'm talking about Bad Blood 03.
Wait a minute. So you're saying we're going to be watching freaking the Tesco take on the mathematic professor?
Yes.
Wait a minute, Bad Blood 03. That had the Kevin Nash and Triple H Hell in a Cell match. One of Kevin Nash's best matches, in my opinion. Then we got that cringe, which is Austin Bischoff's Redneck Triathlon segments. God damn it. Why?
Because I said so.
Ugh. Then we have Goldberg versus Jericho. I know that one was on the card as well.
Yeah.
Not as bad as the cringe shows you've been making me watch, but some of the segments are still up there, so yep. I guess next week you get to look forward to us reviewing Bad Blood 2003. So until then, we will talk to y'all later. Peace.
Doses.